Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Adrielle, and if you're new here, thanks for coming, and if you're not new here, thanks for coming back. And today I'm gonna do something that I've never done before, because again, I'm still really new on this channel. So this is gonna be my first wrap up. I'm basically gonna be talking about all the books that I've read lately, kind of talk about my thoughts. And yeah, this is my December 2020 wrap up, so it's gonna be all the books that I read in December of last year. And I read a total of 6 books. Yeah, I read a total of 6 books for the entire month, which is pretty good for me. I thought because I was going to be out of school that I was going to read a little bit more, but that's okay. I wanted to rest, and I kind of hit a tiny bit of a reading slump, so I didn't really get to read as much as I wanted to. But I still managed to read, out of the whole 2020, 60 books, and my goal was only 40. So, or was it 30? Yeah, I'm proud of what I did last year in my reading life. So yeah, I'm going to talk about my whole month of reading. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first book I read last month in December of 2020 was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. If you don't know, this is kind of like a murder mystery, but kind of not really, fast-paced thriller. Girl, high school, she has a senior project and she's trying to figure out who really committed this murder because she doesn't believe it's who people say that it is. This book was really captivating. I think I gave it 4 stars. I'm not gonna be telling all my ratings for these books because I think I'm gonna do some proper reviews on some of these. But I think for this one, I think I gave it 4 stars, maybe 5, I don't remember. I think I've even said on this channel what I gave it. I just can't for the life of me remember right now. But I mean, I really enjoyed it. I've heard some people say that they read this one and they used to like it, but then they kept reading thrillers and then they discovered that this was actually not that great. But for somebody who doesn't read a whole lot of thrillers right now, this is like really good for me. This is like top tier in my little mind, in the mind of a person who doesn't read too many thrillers. So maybe I'll change my mind when I read more, but as of now, this is a solid 4. And it was a joy to read. I did a whole reading vlog on it. If you haven't watched it, you probably should, because why not? Really good book, and I'm glad that I read it. And I've also had that book for like 5 months, and I just finally got around to reading it, and I'm so glad that I did. It was a joy. Okay, so the next book that I read was actually an audio book, and it was In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I've never read a holiday romance before, and it's a holiday romance, and it's essentially this girl has to relive the same day over and over again, like the same couple of days over and over and over and over again, which sounds like something I would be into because I read Una Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. Is that how you say her name? Is that her name? Yeah, by Margarita Montemor, and I absolutely was obsessed with it. It's one of my favorites of 2020, and kind of, but I essentially just loved that book, and I thought this one was gonna kind of be like Una Out of Order, but it was not. Let me go back a little bit. 2020 for me was the year of reading romances. I'm not a romance reader. I'm fantasy, dark, gritty stuff, fluffy contemporary romances have never been my thing. There's nothing wrong with them, just personally I could never get into it. I hadn't found what was for me. I think in 2020 I found, I branched out a lot as a reader, and I found the type of romance that I like. And I wanted to continue that. I was like, you know what? It's December. Let's end the year with a holiday romance. I've never read a holiday romance. It'll cap off the year of romance for me. So I gave it a try. It ended up being a 3 out of 5. It wasn't anything super special to me. If you like the book, that's fine. I mean, I still liked it. I gave it a solid 3, but it didn't blow my mind. I just kind of wanted a little bit more from it. But moving on. The next book that I read in December of 2020 is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And if you know anything about me and my reading taste, this is one of my favorite books of all time. I've read it I don't even know how many times at this point. I think maybe 4 or 5. Yeah. And I read it whenever I'm in a tough spot, a really tough spot or whatever. And December at some points was just super stressful for me. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to escape into the world of Daisy Jones and the Six. So I listened to the audiobook and I followed along in the book, which I love doing that. And I put the audiobook on 2.6 speed or something ridiculous and just followed along. It's such a joy. And at this point I know the story the back of my hand. So it was that fast, but I was looking at the words and I've already read it before 5 times or 4 times or whatever. So it was fine that I was going that fast. It was just a really fun read. Obviously, this is a 5-star for me. It's on my favorite books of all time list, which is another video of mine. So if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. This is gonna be one that I return to for a long, long time. This is just, I love it. I love this book. Okay, my next book that I read in December is actually a comic book, and it's Harley 1. And I can't say this author's name, so I'm not even gonna try. I'd rather just not try and like then butcher it. It's Harley #1 in the comic books. There's like 3, I think, and I read Harley 1, and it's basically about how Harley Quinn becomes Harley Quinn, and it is so fascinating. I love the Gotham world, and while Harley Quinn is not my favorite villain from the world, I'm pretty sure Two-Face is, just me personally, but really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know why I didn't give it 5, because I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I read it on Kindle, which is why I don't physically have it, even though I want to physically get it because the illustrations are just unbelievably beautiful and I want them on my shelf and in my collection. So the next book that I read was also one that I don't physically have, and it's After I Do, also by Taylor Jenkins Reid, one of my favorite authors, because again, she wrote Daisy Jones and The Six. So I mean, need I say more? This book is about a marriage that is like falling apart, and so the married couple decides they're gonna split for a little while. I think it's like a year. They're gonna split and they're gonna come back together maybe when they're ready, or if things don't work out after a year, they're just gonna get a divorce, and that's the plan. I thought it was really interesting. I think I'm about to go onto like a deep soapbox, but like feel free to skip ahead or disregard, like if you don't want to hear a 22-year-old talk about things that like I feel like I have no business knowing. I feel like when people talk about true love and finding matches and stuff like that, it comes with this like built-in idea that everything is supposed to be perfect, like you found like that person, but that's kind of not how that works. And I really like how this book explores that. Like when you really care about somebody, you want to make it work and everything, like you really have to work at the things that y'all aren't good at because you're not a perfect couple. And so I really like how, even though it showed when they were younger and things were better for them, and then like it was real. It wasn't like, oh, we're in love and so everything is sunshine and rainbows and unicorns and amazing. It's like, no, some days were really hard. I just felt like it was just fair. It wasn't trying to necessarily put a super overly positive spin on the idea of love. Of course, love is like a positive thing, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's real. Like it's like couples have issues. Even people who are like really good together, you think, and they have issues. And I like how that book kept it real. I don't know what rating I gave it. I don't know if I actually rated it. Maybe I did, I don't remember. But I really enjoyed it. I think I might have given it a 4 if I did rate it. Now I'm off my soapbox. So moving on to the 6th book that I read this month, or last month, and it was Harley #2, because again, I read Harley 1 earlier in the month, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna spend some money and read Harley 2. Again, it's one that I don't physically own yet, but I definitely will be getting it in the months to come, because the illustrations are just like amazing. I love that art style. What can I even say about this one that I didn't just say about the other one? It was just so good. I like seeing Harley Quinn before she's Harley Quinn, if you know what I mean. Like it's fun to see her like when she's in her like in a better mental state, essentially. It makes the character more interesting, because just seeing her how we traditionally see her doesn't do much for me in terms of like, I don't know. I just like seeing this side of her, because this isn't like her as Harley Quinn. It's her as Harleen Quinzel, the doctor, and you get to know more about her life before she was like a huge villain. I absolutely love villain backstories. I feel like it gives the villain, because villains are honestly just as important as the heroes, and when you can make a villain seem like you put as much effort into them as you did into the hero, I feel like that is an A on the villain. Villains have to really be good. Just like you want your hero to be good, you want your villain to be fleshed out too, in my opinion. And I feel like villain backstories really give some substance to some of these villains who, some of them in literature and in like TV and stuff like that, seem like they're evil just because. But when you give them a backstory, there's no way you're gonna come away thinking they're evil just because you know like why they are the way they are. You know exactly what happened to them. You know like all the traumatic experiences. You know all of it, and it makes them feel more dynamic. Like she's not just Harley Quinn anymore. She's not just Harley Quinn. She's like Harley and Quinzel, and I honestly feel for her. So yeah, those are the 6 books that I read for December 2020, and I really hope to read as many books as I can this month as well. I know for a fact that it won't be 6 books because I'm back in school now and I have a lot of stuff to do, and I have work, and I have a lot of stuff to do. So I don't think I'll read 6 books this month, but even just 1 book in January is going to be good for me just because I know how busy January is going to be. And I'm fine with that. Like, you know, sometimes I feel like people get so caught up in like the number of books that they've read and like the goal, like the Goodreads goal or whatever. And it's like, you know what? Reading is supposed to be fun. And if reading ever stops feeling fun, then I feel like that's when you should take a break. But that's just me personally. But I try not to take it too seriously. But it is really rewarding when you feel like you've read a lot and you like pass your little goals and stuff. So I wanted to read like 6 or more books in December. I wanted to read a little bit more, but again, I don't beat myself up over that kind of stuff. I'm just happy that I got to read it all because reading is one of my favorite things to do, as you can probably imagine. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.